Bruce's life starts with tragedy. His mother died shortly after giving birth to him, leaving him to be raised by a woman he called Dave, who had everything and nothing at the same time.
My birth mother, just obviously were great friends, and she asked her to take me in.
Really?
You know, and it's interesting because she had nothing. She really had nothing.
But sometimes everything isn't enough. Bruce had to make his own way in life by hustling bottles for cents, running the streets as a young man, and even being drawn into a gang called Los Diablos, where he earned the title of war counselor.
Everybody in the Los Diablos had a job. I'm the war counselor.
Bruce kinda had a raw temper, and because of that, his journey was filled with confrontation, lies, and the heavy pull of anger that he struggled to control.
I wasn't much of a communicator because in my book, an argument is a fight.
Of course, the story doesn't end there. In a moment of surrender, Bruce gave his life to God, crying out for transformation and finding a purpose that he never imagined.
If I accept the Lord, folks on the street, they're gonna eat me up. I literally cried. I'm like, Lord, I can't do this. I can't do this.
From a mother's sacrifice to gang life, from uncontrollable rage to spiritual redemption, Bruce's journey is a testament to both faith and resilience. So make sure you stay tuned, because there are details in this story that you do not want to miss. Let's start out by you introducing yourself. What's your name? Where you from?
Okay.
And maybe one interesting fact about you to get started.
Okay. My name is Bruce Grimble. I'm from upstate New York, a small town called Liberty, New York.
Okay.
Okay. In Liberty, it's a very small community, primarily Jewish Caucasian, and very few blacks. As a matter of fact, there were probably about 4 blacks in my graduating class. Okay. And regarding that small town, it was a nice place to grow up.
Yeah.
It was a nice place to grow up. I did a lot of just kid things, a lot of bike riding, things of that sort. Interestingly, I was raised up over a bar. It was Maxie's Bar, Main Street. Okay, so it was like a boulevard. It was the center of town.
Yeah.
And got a real education because my bedroom was right on Main Street, on Friday and Saturday when, folks were doing their partying and carrying on. I had a front row seat.
Yeah. So you were just basically looking out the window every weekend.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go back to the very beginning, when you were born. What year was that?
1949.
Born in 1949. You said your birth mother died during birth?
It was shortly after. From what I understand, she fell somewhere along the line. And interestingly enough, my birth mother, just obviously were great friends, and she asked her to take me in.
Really?
And it's interesting because she had nothing. She really had nothing. Like I said, she was a maid at a hotel, and we lived over the bar. And but she did that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what she had sacrificed and what she had done. And she also had a son. Okay, who I call my brother, and he's 10 years older than I was. But I had a nice normal setting. Now understand, my mother, which I eventually wound up calling her Dave. Her name was Frances Davis. Over the years I just started calling her Dave. She was a strong disciplinarian. Back in the day, if you look crooked, bam, you get the backhand smack. You know what I mean? So that kind of kept me in line.
I got you.
Okay.
So getting spanked didn't stop you from making risky decisions.
No, I mean, it was like, okay, lots of people in that area, they got allowance, right? What we did was we would go in the alleyway, and there would be always soda bottles, okay? And for a quart bottle, you could turn them in and you get 5 cents. For a small bottle, you get 2 cents, okay? So, you know, we always, you know, scavenged the trash. And also Max's Bar, you know, they would have little bottle, not liquor bottles, but, you know, pop bottles, that type of thing. And that's kind of like how we...
You know, they're hustling up your money.
Yeah, yeah, you see, so that was part of the hustle, to go and get some Drake's cakes and stuff like that, you know. And but that was the way it was.
Yeah.
That was the way it was.
Did that continue on to your early adulthood?
Not really, not that part, because one thing that my mother emphasized is you're going to go to work somewhere.
Yeah.
You're going to go to work somewhere. So like the early years, you know, I would do that kind of thing. But gee whiz, my first real job, I think I was probably around maybe around 12. But I was a caddy at the hotel that my mother worked at. It was called Grossinger's Hotel. Okay. As a matter of fact, Jenny Grossinger's had a bread at the time.
Okay.
But it was a complex. It was a complex. It wasn't a single standing hotel. It was maybe 10 acres of guest facilities, staff facilities, had a 18-hole golf course, a large lake, and I was also a good, here we go with the wealth. One of my friends was Michael Grossinger, you know, so he was one of the owners, and he was my age, and Michael and I, you know, we would hang out and go from place to place to place, you know, around the hotel. And oddly enough, one of the places we would go would be the kitchen. It was a very large kitchen, industrial kitchen. And, you know, we go into the bake shop and, hey, Mike, you know, blah, 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 and they give us cookies and we go on about our business, you know. And ultimately, I wound up, you know, working in the industry, service industry, you know, as a cook, eventually became an executive chef.
Was that your career?
Yeah, that was my career. As a matter of fact, now it's I call it my job.
Okay, so we know who you are, not really all the way, but how you've identified with like your career and your professional life. As far as your personal life, I know you've got kids.
Personal life.
And as
Personal life. Let me say this. You talk about the kids.
Go for it.
Okay. I came to Georgia in 1973. And the way that came down was, like I said, I was in the food industry. But one night I came home and there was a Ebony magazine. I had a trailer. And I lived there with my first wife. And I'm going through this Ebony magazine and I see Maynard Jackson. I said, wow, a black mare, flipped the pages. There was a black maitre d' in the hotel, it was the Regency. I said, a black maitre d'? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know, then I flipped another page and I saw the Brown Sugars.
What are the Brown Sugars?
The Brown Sugars were like cheerleaders for, I think, Morris Brown or one of the universities.
Yeah,
right?
probably Morris Brown, yeah.
Yeah, you know. And once again, I said, there were a whole heck of a lot of black folk. And I said, these girls looking fine. I said, holy mackerel, okay?
I'm going to Atlanta.
Bam, you hit it on the head. That's exactly what I...
Really?
Yeah. That's exactly what I told my wife at the time. I said, you know, babe, it looks like a black man could make it in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a complete and absolute whim, right? In 2 weeks, I was out of Liberty, New York, on a short line bus, then a Greyhound bus to Atlanta, Georgia.
Did you bring your wife with you?
No, She stayed with my mother and my oldest son.
So, first wife, had a job, had a son. You left to Atlanta. That had to have been a tough decision.
It wasn't.
It wasn't? Why?
No,
said
because I was looking at the opportunity. I just got finished looking at a black mare.
Yeah.
A black maitre d' versus living over at Maxie's Bar, and the hero in the neighborhood was Cadillac Jack. And Cadillac Jack was a cook, but he was a revered cook. Everybody knew Cadillac Jack. You see? So if I was going to grow to be anything, I was going to be like Cadillac Jack.
Yeah.
Okay? See, so...
Until you saw Maynard Jackson.
Yeah, I saw Maynard Jackson's, I saw the Maitre D'. You know, I saw a black community, these cheerleaders. You know, this is like, whoa.
Yeah.
What is this? You know what I mean?
So when you finally got here, did it live up to your expectations?
It did. It did. Ooh, boy.
1970, you said your first son was born.
Yeah.
1970, right?
Yeah, 1970.
Yeah, okay. So I'm doing the math. How old is your second son? Because your twins are the youngest, right?
My twins are the youngest. Yeah. I think he's about 30. He'll be 40 soon. He's 38, I believe.
38.
39.
That means he was
39.
born in 85? 80,
somewhere.
80, yeah, 85.
See, I remember a lot of things, but dates.
Years? That's cool. Well, we know how old he is.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about that period of time, how you go from 1970 from having your first child, and then 1985. That's a 15-year gap between the oldest and the next.
And then the twins came, bam, bam.
Imagine that. So how old were you by the time the twins were born?
I don't know. Somebody had to do the math.
Yeah. Was he 36?
I'm thinking about 40.
Yeah.
About 40.
Okay, yeah.
About 40. Okay.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot of time. So that 15-year gap.
Yeah, so let me just say this. That's when Dave wasn't around, and I'm in Atlanta. Yes, I was married, had a son, but I got buck wild, man.
Did you really?
I got to tell you, it was like a whole new world. Okay, but the reality is, I did have a family in New York, so I always worked. That was primary.
Always sending money back.
Yeah,
I know, yeah.
Yeah, that was number one.
Ever since my wife passed away at the age of 37, everybody has been wondering, Austin, how have you not completely lost your mind? Especially because I still have 4 young kids looking to me for guidance and leadership. All throughout her journey with cancer, I was completely devastated. I was a wreck. But at the end, I was afforded something that most people are not, and that's time. Time to grieve, time to heal, time to be with the kids, and not spending that time trying to figure out how I'm gonna still work, how I'm gonna stay on top of my bills, how I'm gonna continue to put food on the table. And here's the thing, that time that I was afforded came from a few different places. A strong community, a good mindset, but also life insurance. Believe it or not, my wife's policy only costs $36 a month, but it gave me enough peace of mind to properly grieve her loss and to still be the happy and fulfilled version of myself that I am today. It was never about the money. It was always about space. Space to breathe in the middle of a storm. I've been helping families with insurance for over 10 years, and my family's been doing this for over 30 years. It's always been important to me, but now, for reasons that you've been made aware of, it's more important to me now than ever. If you don't have life insurance, there's no shame. I'm not judging you. I totally understand. Sometimes it feels like those policies are a little bit out of your budget. But trust me, that peace of mind costs a lot less than you think, especially considering how expensive it is to not have peace of mind. Go to accessbenefits.com, fill out that contact us form, and let's have that conversation today so your family can have the same space and time to grieve, heal, and live a good life.
That was number one.
But you were still going buck wild.
Yeah.
What is buck wild to you? Because that's
We're not going to
for
go
everyone.
there. I'm not going to go there. And I knew you were going to try to do that. You see, we're not going to go there. Just use your imagination.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. And I had a roommate. Oh, man. Oh, my first residence when I arrived in Atlanta was the Butler Street Y.
Okay, yeah.
How did I arrive at the Butler Street Y?
Historic Butler Street. Why?
Yeah, historic Butler Street Y. How did I arrive there? The Greyhound bus pulls up at the in the bus station, which was down on Spring Street, Spring and Lucky. Mm-hmm. And man, I'll never forget it because I left New York. It was cold as could be, right? I remember the clothes that I was wearing. Okay.
Wow. Take me back to the year this was. What year was this?
Around 73.
Okay.
1973.
You remember the clothes you were wearing when you got to Atlanta in 1973?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what I had on. I had on a pair of platform shoes. I had a pair of bell bottoms, orange base plaid. I had on a green turtleneck, right? Maroon leather coat, and what we called back in the day an applejack. Okay, so it was like a big cap. Okay, and I guess and also a scarf.
Okay.
And I guess I remember it so well because as I'm walking out of the bus station, I'm from New York and it's blizzard up there and everything. Jeez, it's hot.
Yeah.
Scarf
Hat
comes off. See your scarf first. Then the hat comes off. Then the leather comes off, and I'm walking, it's hot, man. It's a whole nother world. So I'm asking some people, where's the nearest YMCA? And some, kind of hee-haw type thing. So I catch a cab. I say, hey, listen, take me to the nearest Y, all right? Boom. They took me to Butler Street, okay? Predominantly, it was all black, okay? Come to find out, there was a YMCA 2 blocks from the bus station, okay? All right? But I got to tell you this. The ride coming from Liberty, New York to the South, because you heard so many stories about the South and how black people were being treated in the South, and it was an interesting time. It was the time of the movement, Black Power movement.
This was MLK. Well, after you moved, after he died, but I'm sure years leading up, you were seeing all of that.
He was coming up, but there were the Stokely Carmichaels, the H. Rap Browns. You know what I mean? Even the Puerto Ricans, they had the Red something. It was like the Red Brigade or something like that. But it was very, underprivileged people were looking out for their own. Okay, underprivileged people were looking out for their own. But at any rate, I'm thinking, damn, that's the piece that I'm not feeling too big. It's going south. Now, when I boarded that bus in Liberty, New York, not that I had to, and there was no problem in New York, no Jim Crow, anything like that. But I remember going directly to the back of the bus, and I told her that leather jacket that I had, but I also had my pistol up underneath that leather jacket. Okay, so I'm sitting in the middle seat because I know I'm going south, not really realizing how long it's going to take me to get there, but it's like, it's just down the street. But if any mess jumps off, bam, I'm ready. Okay, and I was cool until we got to Lynchburg, Virginia. I said, what? Lynchburg?
Yeah.
Brothers on alert now. Hey, I might have been sitting like this. When I got to Lynchburg,
Yep.
I'm like this. Okay, I'm exposing my weapon, but it's right there. I said, anything with a white hat on, a white hood, anything, it going down. It going down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it was that prevalent of a thought in your mind?
It's very prevalent.
Because it's one thing for me, like I was born in 91, so I missed, obviously, I missed a lot of that. But we were taught about it in school. It's one thing to see the hoods, the pictures, the hoses, the dogs, all of that on pictures and videos and textbook. I'm curious, like for that to have been on your mind, like what type of, like where were you living? Does that put you in a state of like fight or flight? Was that something that was always on your mind coming to the South? Like, dang, I might get lynched.
Well, coming to the South was purely about economics, and it was God driven. I just needed to be away from there.
Yeah.
I sometimes shudder just thinking, what would my life be like had I stayed in Liberty, New York?
What do you think your life would have been like?
I would have been a drunk in a hallway over Maxie's bar. You know what I mean? I would have been working. You know what I mean? But speaking of that hallway, my experience as a kid going back and forth to school, I had two options. Either I could go down the stairs, and you always had empty wine bottles, empty liquor bottles in the hallway, Guys pissed in the hallway, they puked in the hallway, sometimes they slept in the hallway. So this was my experience going to school. Now, if I didn't want to walk over to drunks, in particular in the winter, right? When you go down the alleyway, if I can say this, you got dog shit all in the alleyway in the snow. Once again, people piss in the snow, so it's like, I guess I just wanted to get away from that. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
wanted to get away from that.
So you moved here, you worked a bunch, you went buck wild. At some point, you were like, all right, I'm sure you kept on working, but then the buck wild life stopped. And then you were like, I'm going to settle down.
Well, I was always settled down in a sense, and I was buck wild at the same time.
That's fair.
Okay.
Not going to ask for details on that.
There you go. And my thing was, I'm taking care of my family.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Now, I will say this. By the time I got to my second marriage, my first marriage, I really gave that woman a bad time. And
You can acknowledge that now?
Oh, yeah.
Did you acknowledge that at the time?
No.
Did you realize it at the time?
I knew I wasn't doing right, but it didn't seem wrong, if that makes any sense.
That's interesting. That's worth exploring a little bit because I think a lot of people do right, thinking that they're doing right. But at some point, you come to a realization that, what was it that kind of like helped you to realize that?
Well, I did so much lying. You know what I mean? I did so much lying. I told so many lies that I had to add some truth to the lies to keep up with it. You know what I mean? And that was, I knew that wasn't right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I knew that wasn't right and it was too much. And gee whiz, I'm thinking by that time my son was maybe around 12 or something like that. You know what I mean? And he had a good life. He had a good life.
Yeah.
A good life. You know what I mean? I took care of my family, but I partied hard. I partied hard, and I was abusive in a sense. I was very abusive because, and then when I say that, not physically.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, not physically, but
Emotionally, maybe.
like a wife say, well, I'm going to church Sunday. Okay, hey, have fun. You know what I mean? Or, no, this is the worst part. We had made some friends somewhere along the line that lived in Florida. And she said, hey, James and Willa are coming to town, from Florida, and they're going to stay. I said, that's cool. I said, I'll catch up with them somewhere along the line. And these were good people. And they were my friends too, but I'm in them streets. I catch up with them somewhere along the line, So that's what I said was abusive.
Yeah.
Abusive, you know what I mean? And like I say, that wasn't right. That wasn't right,
Yeah.
So, make a long story short, we did divorce, a couple of years later, and my son stayed with me.
Okay.
And a couple of years later, I met another woman. That was the mother of my 3 youngsters, my twin daughters, and my young son.
And from my understanding, you guys were married for a long time.
Yeah, over 30 years. Matter of fact, my first wife for 15 years.
Dang.
I've been married all my life.
Yeah, you have. So in between the time where you were, between your first wife and your second wife, you didn't feel like you should spend more time by yourself? Or was the buck wild days like, it were pretty much like,
that was because I'd gone too far. I realized that. I'd gone too far. Way.
How did you realize that you had gone too far? Because I'm thinking now about people my age who are going too far.
Yeah.
How do you, or shoot, maybe even myself, I could be going too far.
Yeah, just once again, I said the Holy Spirit.
Okay. You just had some conviction?
Yeah, your spirit is your guide. As a matter of fact, I was blessed in as much as I never told you about the other part of the community in Liberty. There was a black community, okay, and all the young brothers, we hung together. We had a gang. We were the Los Diablos, okay. Everybody in the Los Diablos had a job. I'm the ward counselor. You know, and once again, I tell you, ain't no smiling, ain't no laughing in the New York
The
game.
culture.
That's it. You know what I mean? And peer pressure.
The war counselor?
Yeah.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely left that part out.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you know.
So what's interesting to me is I think a lot of people are living that life right now. You say you get to a point where you realize a lot of that is foolish or it's like a mistake, an example.
Yeah.
How do you, I don't know, like looking back at all that now, how does it make you feel kind of replaying some of that?
My biggest regret was how I treated my first wife. Okay, because I was
Out in the streets.
really out there. You know, by the time I married my second wife, I'm really trying to be correct.
Right.
I'm really trying to be correct. I know I might have a time or two in there. I'm not going to lie, maybe. You know, but for the most part, it was nothing to that. Nothing like that.
Extent.
It was more. It was and she was a business-minded person. You know what I mean? And Atlanta was really moving at that time.
Yeah, it was
you know,
very
really moving.
industrializing, yeah.
And it's like, wow, you know. And as I look back in hindsight, you know, it's kind of like we were maybe like working towards being like a power couple. You know what I'm saying? You know, she has good business mind, no doubt about that. You know what I mean? And once again, now at 40, we start having more babies.
Yeah.
And it was one thing when my young son came along, but then, what was it, 2 years later, Beanie Bean? Here comes these twins, right? Amongst being a chef, cleaning offices. Wife, she was delivering papers. I'm delivering papers. I'm doing all these jobs and all this kind of stuff here, right? You know, it was a lot, you know. And I think it took its toll, you know, as much as we love our children.
For sure.
I think it took its toll on the relationship.
The early years? Or all of it?
No. On the, I'd say, I don't know. I guess I'd say at the later years, you know, and it's not like it was a bad thing because there were a lot of good things going on at the same time because I also started getting a lot closer to the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot closer to the Lord. And to the point that like, ooh boy, it was tearing me up because like, Bruce, you got to make a decision. If I accept the Lord, I'm going to be a straight up punk. They're gonna, you know, like when I say they, folks on the street, they're gonna be on me. They're gonna eat me up. I'm literally cried. I'm like, Lord, I can't do this. I can't do this. You know what I mean? So, I cried, you know, and Lord does what He do. He took control. He took control, and that was the best thing that ever happened in my life. But also, and I don't know how this escaped me, my biggest flaw, right, was my temper. Okay? Even though I liked to play and all that kind of stuff, I always had a raw temper. Raw. And as a result of that, I wasn't much of a communicator in resolution of situations, okay? Because in my book, an argument is a fight. I don't play. We go from here to there, okay? There ain't no
in between.
ain't no in between. And I would tell a lot of people either I'm black or I'm white, okay? I'm just telling you, you know, I'm black or I'm white. So, and I didn't believe in the talking and resolution and all. Either we're good or we're not. Okay? You see? And so that's been something I've had to really wrestle with for many 40, 50, 60, 100 years. I've always had to wrestle with that. Okay? And in the Christian world, they say pray unceasingly, and that is the thing I had to pray for mostly. I'm always thankful for my family. I always pray for people around me. But that thing where Satan's going to try to reach out and grab you, that's how he tries to get me.
I mean, looking back at it now, does it all still feel very purposeful and intentional? And
see, there's a twofold thing. To me in the Christian world is you want to get better, but whatever happened is what the Lord intended to happen.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not a regret thing.
Right.
It's I don't regret it, but that is the path that the Lord laid out for me.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how old were you then when you and your second wife were divorced?
Gee whiz. I didn't even put a date to that. It had to be maybe 15 years ago, something like
So
that.
61.
Maybe something like that.
That's good. One of my questions I always hear, and it's not uncommon for people who are married for a while, their kids get older, and then you kind of look at each other and it's like, I'm curious, like when you get to the age of 60, 61, and you guys have 30 years of marriage under your belt, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, I'm already here now, so I might as well just.
Okay, the closest thing to completion for me is the relationship I have with my children.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's the closest thing to completion for me.
How does that complete you?
I can communicate with them. Okay. I can communicate with them. They value it. I'm going to say they do. They value what I have to say, and they must, because they come back.
Exactly, yeah.
My boys and the difference between the girls and the boys are this. The girls are more interactive. They'll say, hey, daddy, so-and-so and so-and-so. Okay? Now with my guys, it's football Sundays.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we Falcons. Okay.
My condolences.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know what I mean? But if I don't see my sons for 3-4 months at a time, I understand that, because they're doing exactly what I did when I was coming up. And I'm not saying running the streets. They're taking care of their families. They're taking care of their families. So it's not like I understand that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a man and they are men. You know what I mean? So the interaction with my daughters is just like, whoa, this is like,
It's different.
it's different.
I know it.
You know what I mean?
It probably makes your heart warm.
Yeah, absolutely. They all make my heart warm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's something special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
something special. And to be honest, but the blessings when you say made it or have you arrived, is when I look at them, all of them, the boys and the girls, they are good fathers. They are good men,
Yeah.
And like one of my little mottos was, and I would pass this on, hey, if you make babies, you take care of your babies. You know what I mean? And that's in the bloodline. That's big.
Yeah.
Don't come to me with no, we don't do that.
To say you're 76 and to admit that you have not arrived yet, it gives me as a 34-year-old so much less pressure, because I'm like, man, if Bruce can't figure it out in 76 years, and you seem like a pretty bright man.
Here's something that was a big lesson for me in life. When I was a young man, there were 3 things that really represented wealth. Now check this out, and how lame it was. But one, an alligator shoes. Another was a Mercedes Benz. Another was a pedigree dog. Okay? In my life, I had each one of those, all right? Pedigree boxer, his name was McGinnis. McGinnis was tough, boy. Pretty dog.
Yeah.
Right? I got a call on one of my gigs, first wife. McGinnis didn't come home. I said, oh, okay. Boom. Get a call a little bit later. McGinnis is dead.
Dang.
I I said, what? I'll leave work. McGinnis dead. Go. Somebody shot McGinnis in the eye. We couldn't figure out what happened to him because there was no, but he was shot in the eye.
Okay.
Okay. So my way of dealing with that was here I go with my pistol again, and I'm walking from door to door. Did you see who shot my dog? Like somebody gonna say, oh yeah, it was me.
With the pistol in your hand?
You know, you see who shot my dog? Okay, but long story short, lost McGinnis.
Yeah.
Then it was the alligator shoes. Okay? I'm coming to work with my alligators and this and that, go change into my uniform. One day after the event, I go in the little room there to change. Where are my shoes?
Shoes gone.
Where are my shoes? And I knew a lot of the attempts came from Techwood. It was
Yeah, I'm familiar with Techwood.
a lot of them came from Techwood. I said, oh, okay.
So you got your gun and you
I
went
know,
door to door.
no, because I didn't take my weapon to work.
Okay.
No, but in my toolkit, there's a tool called a steel. All right, and it's a tool that you see it's just like this and sharpen it, but it's solid. It's solid steel. I said, okay. I took my steel. Now I'm walking through Techwood. So I say, with my steel, if I see anybody with them shoes, it's going to be a bad day. You know, it's going to be a bad day. Okay? They're going down. All right.
At Access Benefit Consultants, we make reviewing your insurance options as easy as ABC. With our life and health insurance agents, you'll always have a person to call with your questions.
We are Access Benefit Consultants. We make selecting your Medicare health plan as easy as ABC. Call us at 678-264-3918 to schedule your consultation today. And let us meet you where you are.
Never found my shoes. Now that Mercedes-Benz, that was the third thing that represented wealth and prosperity to me, right? The dog, the shoes, and the Mercedes. Okay. And it was a used Mercedes. One day driving to Georgia Tech, my ride goes down. Okay. I took it to a jackleg because I really couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? Took it to a jackleg mechanic, blah, 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 blah. 3 weeks later, a month later, boom, goes down again, smoke and everything. Tears came to my eyes.
You feel like you lost everything?
Hey, yeah. And it was like this. But the reality was, because now I'm more involved in spirituality, I said, you know, none of those really had any value. You know, that's what my life was predicated on, some material, this and that. And if I get the dog, I made it.
Yeah.
If I get the Mercedes, I made it. If I get the Gators, I made it. You see, so when you ask that, do I feel like I'm, nah, no.
Because what you thought was arriving were the Gators, the Mercedes, and the
Yeah,
dog.
money, material things.
Yeah.
You see, and material things. And oddly enough, you know, when I worked at one of my jobs, I made pretty daggone good money. Black man at that time, but it was a contract, you know what I mean? And I was there for many years, but I put my money into the family. I took a few $100s a month for myself. And when things went down with my second marriage, well, you know, the guys don't come out on top with that. So, but by the grace of God, right? That same, more or less, that same little money that I used to put aside, not that I saved it, you know, but I was able to maintain.
Yeah.
I was able to maintain.
That's
Okay.
good.
And I'm still able to maintain. I ain't living in no tall cotton by any means.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah,
hey,
what
the
you
brother,
need.
hey, for the most part,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And oh, here's another thing. Pride. Pride is another thing.
Yeah, you had to swallow a lot of that.
A
I'm
lot of that. You know, so I'm going to say anger and pride.
Yeah.
Pride. And, you know, and like, I remember one time I had lost a big job But I said to the children, I said, listen, guys, here's the reality. Daddy ain't got it like he used to, okay? So right now in life for y'all, if you can't help me, don't hurt me.
Yeah, I feel
You
that.
know, and I wasn't like I was going to try to live off of them, but just don't hurt me. Don't get in any kind of trouble or situation where I'm going to have to do something weird or out of pocket to get you out of a situation. You know what I mean? So it's just, if you can't help me, just don't hurt me, okay?
I never heard somebody say that before. That's cool.
Yeah, you know, and they've been fantastic.
Yeah.
They've been fantastic. And now the pride. Ooh, Lord, every once in a while I got to reach out to one of my children. Yeah. That hurt me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's silly when you think about
It's
it. But,
very silly.
But,
very silly.
but that, like,
I'm sure your kids feel like it's silly too.
They do. You know, and even to this day, it's not something that, oh, dang, I need something. Hey, so. No, it's not like that. You know, because it's still, I like to feel independent. I like to feel like I can take care of myself. I like to think at least I can do what I've asked them to do. Take care of themselves.
And you could do the same.
Yeah.
You know, but America is the only country where seniors are expected to take care of themselves.
Yeah,
In most
yeah.
other countries and cultures,
Yeah.
it still very much is a family effort. It's like, hey, I took care of you for all those years.
Yeah,
And now that I'm ready to rest, it's your turn
yeah.
to take care of me.
Yeah.
So that's not abnormal for the human experience, but in American culture,
Yeah.
I could understand how you would shame yourself and have to swallow pride to go to your kids when
Yeah.
that's supposed to be normal.
Yeah. You see, and that's when you ask, am I retired or that? I can easily say, matter of fact, when I go to take these regular jobs, you know, I tell them I had my day in the sun. I was the big chef. I had my day in the sun. Right now, I just need some income.
Yeah, I feel you.
You know, that's all. I just need some income.
And activity.
Okay, and that's it. So I just need the income to sustain, and don't know what's going to happen with the new administration, but you know, good job, and we'll see what happens with the Social Security and all that kind of stuff. But hey, that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
You see what the Lord got in store.
You're right. Yeah, because I know at every point in your life,
Yeah.
you probably didn't expect it to turn out the way that it did. Yeah.
No, you know. So I think that's pretty much it.
That's
that
your
brought us
story.
up to date.
All right, so I picked up on two important themes here. First of all, is like the concept of dying to yourself, in a sense, especially in the context of relationships and learning where and taking accountability for like the things that you're going through. That, and then your own personal like growth from a teen, being in the streets, for example. So at the end of each of our episodes, I ask our guests to look into this camera and to give advice to a group of people. But you've lived a couple of lives. So I need you to give advice to two different groups of people. The first is that young man that's out in the streets, living the same life that you live, that you did not disclose intentionally. But you know in your head what the type of activities. So I want you to give some advice to that person, just one strong piece of advice.
Okay.
And then the second one we'll get to after this one.
Okay. First, I'm going to say to each individual, know yourself. Know yourself. And you are not a telephone. You're not a game, that you play on the internet, all that kind of stuff. But know yourself as a human being. Okay. Know your value. Know this also, that you are blessed if you're breathing, if you're walking, if you have the ability to make decisions. You are blessed, and that is a blessing from God. When you were born, the Holy Spirit was placed in you. And you may not know it right now, but just know that you have a friend and a Savior in you and with you at all times, okay? And there's nothing too big for Him. Amen. That's
Amen
it.
to that. All right, that's the first piece of advice. I'm sure you'll take that well. The second one is to people in relationships, or what would be considered as failed, quote unquote, relationships.
Well, I don't consider any relationship failed.
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
You speaking right now.
Okay, I don't consider any relationship failed. it's a journey. Each relationship is a journey, okay? And you look at it and you accept it for what it is, for whatever it was. And I'll say this, there's no sense in harboring anger or anything of that sort. You just go with the flow. Once again, I refer back to the good Lord. You see, He will sustain you. He will sustain you. I can remember after my divorce, from my second marriage, there was a period of time, it was a couple of years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years after, who knows. But I asked the Lord for joy. I asked the Lord for joy. Something, I said, just show me some joy, And guess what? He showed me some joy.
Yeah. That's beautiful. All right. Last thing. Any final words, thoughts, shout outs perhaps?
Let me say this. There's a shout out to the Lord. Shout out to God. And we say that, we say hallelujah.
Right.
We say hallelujah. That's a shout out to God, And I'm going to say this. In life, we can be kind of hard on ourselves, okay? So be kind to yourself. I'm going to say this also for older people. This journey, being old and getting older, is some serious it's some serious stuff. I won't say mess, but things that you never thought that you would experience, they happen. They really, really happen. And if you don't have a foundation, and it's never too late to establish that foundation. And I always refer back to the Lord. Just check yourself and just know that God is with you. And not every day is a great day. Some days are just downright hard and tough and disappointing, But think about it. Think about it. He is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Think about when you are sleeping, that you're actually breathing in air. You're breathing in the air that He provided. Your lungs, your body is operating and you're not even conscious of it. Okay? See? So He is. Okay? And that's really the essence of my story. God is. And there really are no real regrets, or they're all a part of my journey and all a part of your journey. And I'll just leave that and say, amen.